once your metal has been completely sanded down, both surfaces look beautiful and amazing, you don't have any of that fire scaling, dirt, grime on your metal, you'll be able to move on to our final stage, which is buffing. Yay! So buffing is the process to make your metal polished, clean, mirror-like, really, really shiny. Okay. So with buffing, there are a few stages to it. So I'll kind of go through all of those. There's, once again, safety involved with it, so we'll run through that as well. So buffing safety. Okay, buffing safety. You are required to wear a full face mask.
Yay!
A full face. I know, you guys love these. Okay. The full face mask protects your lovely faces from metal flying at your face. Okay. Every once in a while, your metal might escape your hand. And if it does, it can come flying out.
Oh no.
Okay. 9.5 times out of 10, the metal hits the back of the machine and then drops down. Every once in a while, it might fling up and hit our safety plexiglass. But every so often, the metal does kind of fling out and into this area.
Ooh.
So you want to protect your face, so in case it goes flying up, you have the mask to protect your face. Okay. I'm not telling you this to scare you, but just as an FYI, sometimes, very rarely, it does come out of the machine. Okay. The buffing wheel is a wheel. Wheels spin. Okay, so just like with the Dremel tool,
As fast as they can.
yeah, so this spins really, really quickly. Just like with the Dremel tool, you want to make sure that things that could get potentially caught in here are away or tied back. So hair has to be tied back. Scarves, the tassel things from hoodies, long jewelry needs to be tucked in or taken off. Earbuds, once again, you can't have them because you don't want anything that could get stuck in here and suck you into the machine.
Oh no.
Okay, because that would be really, really bad. Okay. Also, with the earbuds, you really want to have all of your attention on what you're doing with the machine. So listening to music, that's just a distraction. So you want to make sure that you're completely distraction-free while you're working here. With that being said, people that are buffing, you got to leave them alone. Okay, do not try to talk to people that are buffing because there's a lot of things that are happening here. Okay. When you are buffing, you have to hold your metal with both hands. Okay, so that way you have a really nice firm grip on your metal. That helps prevent you from accidentally letting go and having your metal go flying. Okay, because one hand, not as secure as two hands. The buffing wheel, since it's spinning, it's going to create friction on your metal. Okay, what does friction do? It heats. So your metal, which is a fabulous conductor of heat, is going to get pretty hot. Okay, so as you're buffing, pay attention to how hot your metal gets. If your metal is getting a little too warm, just stop, put your metal down, wait a couple minutes, and then you can go back and buff. Okay? If your metal gets too hot, instinct is to let go. And when you let go, your metal will go flying. Okay? So distractions, not good because you really should be paying attention to your metal and what you're doing. Okay. Questions about any of that safety? Okay. The positioning of your metal on the buffing wheel is important. Okay. For this wheel, you're going to hold the metal on the bottom quarter of the wheel. And because of the direction that the wheel spins, that's going to give you the least amount of resistance. And there is a sign on top of the buffing wheel that helps remind you. We do have a second buffing wheel over by the soldering station that turns in the other direction.
Oh no.
So with that one, you hold it on the top quarter because that will give you the least resistance. Okay. The one by the soldering station is temporarily out of order because the plexiglass broke on it last block.
Oh.
What? How?
Yeah. Stuff went flying. It's gonna get fixed. Okay?
That's reassuring.
So,
Explosions.
but that's why we have the plexiglass, to prevent things from flying at your lovely faces. Okay? But hopefully that one will be fixed next class. So with the buffing, another area of safety, because so much safety, if your metal does accidentally fly out of your hand and drops down, do not just reach in. Because if you reach in and the buffing wheel is spinning, you could accidentally get some really nasty rug burn on your hand.
Or blood.
Okay? So what you do is you have to wait for the wheel to stop. So you'll go ahead, you'll turn the buffing wheel off, you'll wait for the wheel to stop spinning, and then you can reach in and take your piece out. Okay? And that's about it with safety. Any questions on safety?
No.
Nope. Okay. So the buffing is a two-stage process. We have two different compounds that you use to buff. Okay? So the first compound you use is called Tripoli. So the Tripoli is going to be on the left-hand side. It's this brick that's kind of this grimy orangey brown color. The Tripoli has a grit to it. Okay, so that sand stuff that sandpaper has, it has some of it in here. So this does a lot of that polishing, getting rid of scratches, any last residue or gunk you may have. Okay, so you start with the Tripoli first. Okay, so when you go to buff, you'll start on the left. The on switch is on the side and in the front. Okay, so depending on whether or not it's turning, you might have to turn one on and then the other. The other buffing wheel just has an on switch on the side. Okay? So before you start buffing, you have to coat the wheel with the compound. Okay, so I'm just going to take the brick, and you can see that the brick has all of these kind of U-shaped areas on it. That's just people pressing the brick onto the compound, or onto the wheel, and it just spins and coats. So I didn't put a lot in, just had to go around a few times just to really coat the wheel. Every time you buff, you have to coat the wheel just so you have fresh compound to work with. Okay? So once you coat it, then you'll be able to start buffing. Okay, so once again, hold your metal with both hands. On this one, I'm going to hold it on the bottom quarter of the wheel. So with the Tripoli leaves this black gunk and grime on your metal.
Ew.
I know, it's kind of gross. Okay, so it's this black compound grime on it. You want to make sure that all of your metal gets covered with this grime. Okay, the front and the back of your metal. Okay, this is an indicator of which areas you actually did the Tripoli on. Okay, so all of it should get covered with the Tripoli grime. Okay, yes.
How do you do the edges then? Because like, where are you gonna put your fingers?
These edges,
No, like, where are you gonna put your fingers?
You move your fingers.
you move throughout. Okay, so you just adjust your fingers as you're holding it. Okay. You want to apply a pretty decent amount of pressure on the buffing wheel when you're doing this, because you really want that compound and the wheel to really get at your surface and clean it. Okay. Sometimes you might have to do Tripoli 2 or 3 times depending on how it goes. Okay. But the first round, just try to get everything covered with the Tripoli, so that black grime. From here, you'll have to clean all this off. Okay, so the Tripoli has a bit of an oil in it. So you'll go over to the sink, soap, water, wash it down. You can use a sponge to get the stuff off. I also have a few toothbrushes that you can use to really get that stuff off. Okay? So you'll clean, 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 get all of that Tripoli off, and you'll see that your metal looks a little bit different in the area where the Tripoli was. It starts to be a little more polished. It becomes less cloudy. Okay? The sanding creates kind of this cloudy look to your metal. The Tripoli starts to get rid of that cloudiness, fog, haze. Okay, so your goal with the Tripoli is for all of your areas to have that fog stuff get away, so you have some more of that polished look to it. So once you do the Tripoli, all of your metal looks good. You've cleaned it, you'll be able to move on. Okay? But cleaning your metals sometimes can be a little bit tricky, especially if you have areas of negative space. Okay, so at the table with the Dremel tool, I have a little container that has Q-tips. You can use the Q-tips to get into your negative space crevices to get rid of some of that Tripoli. We also have nail polish remover that you can also use to help dissolve some of that Tripoli. So with the nail polish remover, you just pour a little bit in the cap, and then you can dip the Q-tip in, and then clean, clean, clean from there. Okay. So the nail polish remover, like the soap, dissolves some of that Tripoli. Okay. Questions on the Tripoli? Okay. So once you're done with the Tripoli, you'll be able to move on to the second compound, which is called our rouge. So the rouge is a brick that is this burgundy color. Okay, rouge is red in French. Okay. So this has zero grog in it, zero grit. It's nice, smooth, velvety. I would even say it's a little buttery. Okay. This is the stuff that is going to make your metal mirror-like. Okay. So once again, before you start, you'll put the compound on the wheel just to give it a nice coating, and then you'll be able to put your metal on top. So the rouge doesn't really leave a lot of residue. It might leave a little bit, but it's not going to cover your metal with gunk again. Okay, but the little bit that is there, you can polish off. So also on the Dremel table, I have these polishing cloths. These are only for the rouge. You can see they are that burgundy color. Okay, so you can take this, you can just kind of hand polish just a little bit to get any rouge off. And then when you look at your metal, you'll see that it is mirror-like. You should be able to see your reflection in it. Okay. So I only did a small section of this, but you can see the inner part is where it's mirror-like. Then we have a halo around, which is where just the Tripoli was. And then on the outside, it's just sanded stuff. So your goal is for all of your metal, front and back, to be nice and mirror-like. If you have areas that are still a little foggy, hazy, not mirror-like, that just means that you didn't do enough of the Tripoli. So you can always go back, do the Tripoli again, clean it, and then do the rouge. Okay? But your goal really is for all of your metal to be nice and shiny. Areas of negative space, really small ones, are not going to get very mirror-like. because it's just harder for the compound and the wheel to get in there. But what you can do is you can use a Q-tip, kind of hand buff in there with the rouge. Okay. When you're done and everything's mirror-like, make sure you're handling your metal by the sides, because the second you touch the surface, you're getting fingerprints on it. You're getting oil, dirt, grime, whatever you have on your fingertips will be getting on your metal. Okay? And you don't want that, because that's going to get rid of that nice mirror-like polish. Okay? So hold it by the edges. When everything's beautiful and wonderful, you'll be able to turn your metal in. So over by the Dremel tools, I have little Ziploc bags. There are 2 different sizes, a smaller and a bigger one. Pick a size that works for your metal piece. If you need an even larger bag, let me know. I have larger ones stashed away. You'll write your name and the block on the bag. You can just use a pen. Pen works just fine. Then your metal goes inside the bag. You close it. And then I will have an envelope labeled block 2 for you guys. This one is for block 1. So there'll be a lot of different envelopes. So find the one that's for your block, and your metal just goes inside. And that means that you have officially turned your metal project in. Questions? Comments, concerns? We're good?
Yeah.